This presentation will take a more in-depth look at the objectives section of the program needs analysis. The objectives make up one of the most important sections of the PNA. This is where you will later turn to measure whether or not your media project was a success. There are two types of objectives: instructional and motivational. Instructional objectives teach the audience something. These objectives are performance-based. Usually it's how to complete a task properly. By the end of this project, you should be able to perform this skill, do this task. Very often, these types of objectives are used for training videos. If we were creating an objective for this presentation, it may state that by the end of this presentation, the viewer should be able to write a clear, measurable objective for a training video. You want something that can be measured. It needs to be very specific so later you can test that objective and see if your video made it up to the standards that you expected to solve the problem. Motivational objectives are less concrete than the instructional objectives. That's because they try to create a positive feeling. It's very hard to measure feelings. So usually motivational objectives are combined with instructional objectives for this reason. You may want viewers to have increased morale and have a positive feeling about the company, but you may want them to have that feeling so they sell more product. Here are some tips for writing good objectives. First, the language should be as simple as possible in order to avoid confusion. You want to have a simple sentence structure. You don't want people to become lost in the wording. You want them to know precisely what needs to be accomplished. Second, the more measurable your objectives are, the easier it will be to measure the success of the project later. Third, limit your objectives to having only one action. If you want someone to do two things in one objective, the success becomes more difficult to measure if only one of those tasks is accomplished. For example, if your objective is to have a worker should be able to identify and correct service problems on vehicles, what happens if the person can only identify the problems but can't correct them? Or what if they weren't able to find the problem, but once it was pointed out to them, they were able to correct the problem? Split that one up into two different objectives. Next, you don't want to make the sentence so simple that it isn't specific. Include exactly what you want to happen. Who should be doing something? What should they be able to do? In what amount of time or in what conditions or to what standards should this task be accomplished? So you want to set who your audience is, what they should be able to do, and under what conditions. It's best to use action verbs that are followed by objects or conditions. Bloom's taxonomy is a great resource for action verbs that may help you when you're writing your own objectives. You want to have your objectives more than the audience should be successful. You want to specify what the task is they are to achieve. So when you write your PNA objectives, think about what you want to achieve. Are you trying to instruct or motivate, or a combination of the both? Be as clear as possible, as specific as possible, and create statements that are as measurable as possible.